Hello everyone, and today we're going to be taking a look at Batocera, or a Batocera image on the Steam Deck. Now what is Batocera? It is a Linux-based operating system. So two things you're going to need to run it on the Steam Deck. Number one is a Steam Deck. Number two is a micro SD card, if the camera will ever focus on it. This is a 512 gigabyte one. Now you can buy these micro SD cards preloaded with Batocera on it. It won't focus at all. It does not want to focus here. But yeah, you can buy these preloaded with Batocera. You can get them with all the ROMs loaded on. There it goes. A 512 gig Samsung Evo SD card. The other thing that you can do, of course, is flash your own Batocera image, or you can download one. So I've just downloaded one. Rather than buy one. It said plug and play on the AliExpress listing for these, but it's not true. It just won't work. What you have to do is you have to power off your Steam Deck, and we're going to boot up into the boot menu. So how you do that, just wait for your Steam Deck to shut down here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hold the volume down button and then power on. So just wait for it to shut off completely. There we go. So you have to hold the volume down button here. Hold it down and then just press the power button. You can let go of the power button and keep the volume down button held. And this will take you into the Steam Deck's boot menu. So you'll see here it'll load up, and there you get the boot menu. And then you just select the SD card from the boot menu here. It should be the third option. So just use the D-pad to scroll down to the third option and select it with A, and you'll get booting Batocera Linux, because it is booting now from the SD card. And if you've configured everything, this isn't a guide of how to configure everything, but yeah, you just wait a few seconds, you will get the Batocera boot loader. There you go. It will orient itself correctly, and there we go. There is the Batocera menu. So again, Batocera is another Linux-based operating system. It does use Emulation Station as a front end, and as you can see, it does. This one came preloaded. This was a 256 gig image, flashed it to 512 gigs. It has about 6,500 ROMs. It's got GameCube, it's got Mega Drive, it's got some Neo Geo, PS1, PS2, PSP. It's even got some Wii games on it, and a couple of OG Xbox. Not a lot of Wii games, gotta say, and getting to work is a bit tricky. A couple of OG Xbox games. You got Soul Calibur and X-Men Legends for some reason, but yeah, you can see there 6,500 ROMs. So what we'll do is we will switch over to the capture card now, just because this deck is quite shiny. So there we go, capture card. 6,500 ROMs we've got here. And yeah, so it covers most systems. There are a few missing, like the Atari systems are missing from this image. Now I got this image from Arcade Punks. You can make your own image, and you can add files to it, and you can extend it to cover the whole of the SD card, because this is a 512 gigs, so it's like 200 gigabytes of uncovered space. But you can get Batocera to do it. Super Nintendo, I think it's got most of the Super Nintendo collection right here. You got the CD enhanced Super Nintendo games as well, which was that ever released, the CD add-on? So you can do, there's a few there. Mega CD, I think the whole collection's there. It's only 30 games, so the whole collection isn't there. Have to get down and see if the best Mega CD game is there, and that is Terminator. Certainly the best one. Sonic CD's there as well. So of course Terminator's there. Sega Saturn, we've got 22 Sega Saturn games, which is pretty good, but Burning Rangers isn't there, so yeah, disappointing with this one. No Burning Rangers. Panzer Dragoon's there. You got a couple of Street Fighter the movie, Street Fighter Alpha 2, X-Men, not X-Men versus Street Fighter, but it is X-Men Children of the Atom. 257 PSP games and PSP minis, which are in a separate folder, which is useful there. But the thing that's missing is no Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. It's got the God of Wars and the Grand Theft Auto games and the Lego games, but yeah, Portable Ops Plus, but no Peace Walker. PS2, there's only 11 games here, although they're not too bad a selection. Again, no God of War 1 and 2 here, so, you know, we could always add to that as well. PS1, we've only got 65, which again, it's not too bad here. They got the Crash Bandicoots, Diablo was interesting. You got the PC Engine, the TurboGrafx 16, Beats of Rage, which is like a Streets of Rage engine mods. We've got 782 NES games, 300 N64 games, just over 300 there. I think that is most of the library there. I'm not absolutely certain, but I think it is most. Goldeneye's there, so you know, you can change the game collection, you can change the emulation options if you want here. And again, this is just running off of the Steam Deck natively, so it does support now. It does support any x86 CPU for Batocera, so you could do this on your PC as well. You could get it to boot into a PC. I would recommend flashing it to a USB stick or a USB hard drive. But yeah, you can see some of the settings. You've got the emulator. You can pick whatever you want for the emulator here, and you can do it on a per game basis as well. So that's good. So let's go in and take a look at some games. It's got Doom 64, so again, you know, important there. Alright, so I guess we should check out Goldeneye then on the Nintendo 64 emulator then. It should run fine because N64 games run fine on the Steam Deck. So yeah, N64, I think this is 2x, I set it to 2x resolution here, close to 720p as possible, because bear in mind we only have a 720p screen, so yeah, it runs fine. We got James Bond shooting at the camera there, and I've skipped ahead into the first level, and yeah, it's fine. There's a few issues. If you don't want those graphical issues at the side, just change the aspect ratio to 4:3, because 16:9, it's set to force 16:9, which does create those little border issues at the side. But yeah, GoldenEye, yeah, it's running okay. It's running pretty much at full speed, as you'd expect. So yeah, we can play GoldenEye on the Steam Deck. It does do this. If you look at the Xbox Series X version, it has quite a few graphical glitches when it forces 16:9. What happened to the other guy? Where'd the other guy go? He just shot his mate. Where'd he go? Did he go in there? Did he? Oh, this dude shooting at us over there. Yeah, we shot his mate and he didn't really care. There we go. We'll shoot these two dudes in the face. Never shot any of them in the nuts. It usually auto targets their nuts. The yeah, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. He's just oblivious to the fact that, yeah, I shot him in the nuts. There you go. For some reason, that's what Rare decided the auto aim is. So yeah, it's just as, you know, it's just as you would expect if you played on like the Series X had these issues when it did GoldenEye in 4K. The controls are obviously better on the Series X because it uses modern controls, but this is similar to like the Nintendo Switch port of GoldenEye, which is alright. You know, again, it is, the controls are a bit janky, a bit of slowdown here, which you got on real hardware, so it's not really running it at a higher frame. You can get, you know, higher frame rate emulation versions. It was the 1964 GEPD build, which again ran it allows you to use mouse and keyboard, and ran at 60 FPS. That was a good build. We covered that in a video. 2017, I believe we covered that. It was GoldenEye in 2017. Might update that video because, you know, there's newer methods of playing GoldenEye. There is the Steam Deck, obviously, and then of course there's the official releases. I don't know why the controls are going pointing up the way when you run up to the bunker there. I don't know. But there you go, GoldenEye. Most N64 games, there's not really any issues with them. Most of them run just fine. So we should have no problem with N64 emulation. So we'll move on to something maybe a bit more challenging. Okay, then let's move on to GameCube then. And of course it does have Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader. So we'll go in and we will set the resolution here. So you just set rendering resolution. And we're going to go for 2x for 720p. There's no point in going any higher because the deck screen is only an 800p screen. So we'll go for that and we'll get straight into gameplay now. This is one of the most challenging GameCube games to run, and we've just doubled its internal resolution. So let's see how well it goes. There is always going to be slowdown because this is the first time we've ran it. The more you run it, the better it's going to get. So this is going to be a worst case scenario. So as you can see, it's not running particularly at full speed here, but it does get better the more you play it. So it will get a bit better. If you want a configuration option, make sure you force 4:3 aspect ratio if you want my advice on how to configure this to run well. Because if you go for force 16:9 or auto, it'll just set it to 16:9 by default. And you'll get graphical issues at the side of the screen. We've got black bars on the left and right of the screen, but it honestly doesn't do as many graphical glitches. Again, this is a first time run. I was just testing out the buttons and I went to the cockpit mode, which was a bad idea. It really runs poorly. But again, the more you run this, the better it's going to get because it does build up the shader cache. And again, it is just going to get better. You'll see it here as we let this run on. It does get better. But this is one of the most challenging games. Factor 5 were just geniuses when it comes to GameCube. And the GameCube ROM list, it doesn't have... There's no Time Splitters games. So this ROM set is a 0 out of 10. No Time Splitters. I mean, okay. And no Burning Rangers either. No Burning Rangers. For the Sega Saturn, there's PS2, there's Xbox, and there's GameCube, and there's no Time Splitters. So this is a 0 out of 10. I'm giving this ROM set. That is not right. Okay, Rogue Squadron 2's there. Rebel Strike ain't there. Rogue Squadron 3 ain't there. I'm gonna hit that. Aren't I? If I don't move out of the way. See, you can see how it's getting better, isn't it? Since we ran it. There's less stuttering. There's less hitching because the shader cache is... the shader cache, but it's still a bit slow down there. And I would say this is worse than running it through the Dolphin emulator on SteamOS. We will look into that a little bit. Should you choose Batocera versus SteamOS? I mean, there are advantages and disadvantages, which we'll discuss later in the video. But anyway, we've seen Rogue Squadron blowing up this Death Star, and we'll move on and take a look at some PS2 emulation. Okay, so PS2 then, again, 720p. I should point out this is running PCSX2, and GameCube was running Dolphin, so was the Wii. Emulator runs Dolphin, and this is PCSX2 running through Batocera, so in case you're wondering what emulator it's running. So this is just the bog standard PCSX2 1.7 it is. You can update it. You can update the emulators in Batocera, but yeah. So this is the same. If you were using things like EmuDeck, you would get the same, the same PS2 emulator. EmuDeck, probably the best thing to use in SteamOS. You can download PCSX2 standalone. But yeah, Ratchet & Clank runs fine. PS2 emulation is pretty good on the deck anyway. It is powerful enough again with a 2x resolution increase for 720p, and I think Ratchet & Clank is a nice looking game. I mean, this was remade for the PS3, but I don't know, PS2 graphics, they look good to me. I like this era. The 6th gen was one of the best eras, and the fact that we can play this on a handheld now, it's pretty awesome, really. I think it's pretty awesome. We can play this at 720p on a handheld, and most of the PS2 games that are on that list run okay. I did test a few others, but I'm just showing you Ratchet & Clank. It's a fairly easy game to run on your deck, and the fact that, again, we're running this on a handheld system, this is pretty awesome. I like this. I like the deck. That dude's gonna zap us, but we'll just avoid him and whack him with our wrench thingy, tool thingy. I never really played Ratchet & Clank, so I don't really know. Got bomb glove ammo, whatever that is. But anyway, let's go and test out some Dreamcast then. Okay, let's go and check out Crazy Taxi. And I left the soundtrack in because it's awesome. Yeah, let's go do some Offspring and get some Crazy Taxi then. And it has all the licensed stores, so yeah, Crazy Taxi runs incredible. I don't care about monetization, so I don't mind playing a copyrighted song. So yeah, you know, back off your rules. Exactly. There we go, Crazy Taxi runs perfectly well. And that's all you want, really, isn't it? So yes, the PS1 is fine. There's not a lot to say about it, really. We've got the bezels up. We had the bezels up on the Dreamcast, which are nice, yeah, and you can disable them if you want. Again, this is Duck Station running it again. I think this is 2x resolution for 720p. And yes, there's just not a whole lot to say about PS1 emulation other than, yeah, that's fine. You know, most of the games should run. I missed that. I hit the TNT there. That wasn't good. Luckily, I had the mask to protect Crash, and I've just lost the other mask there. But anyway, yeah, it's all right. I mean, you know, Crash Bandicoot runs fine, I guess. You know, try something else then. So moving on to PSP then, and yeah, it runs fine. This is God of War, one of the two God of Wars. I forget what the one is. I think this is the first one. I think it's Chains of Olympus. I'm not sure though. I might be wrong, but anyway, it runs at 3x resolution, and yeah, it's all right. 720p is 3x resolution. Again, this uses a PPSSPP, which is a fun named emulator. I might have got that wrong. I'm not sure. I think that is correct for the PSP emulator, and yeah, PSP is it's fairly easy to run. Here on the Steam Deck, it's, you know, another portable system that we're getting to run, and again, that's cool. You want to run your Steam Deck as just a better portable PlayStation, then yeah, you know, you can do it. Firing this ballista. So this is dad of the boy, of course. Before he became a dad of the boy, he was just a guy. Didn't he murder his wife? Did he not in the original God of War? Did he not do that, or he was tricked into it or something? I don't know. I never really liked the original God of War, to be honest, because I was never a fan of QuickTime events. And speaking of hard to run 3D based handheld systems, this is the Nintendo 3DS. Only has 2 games on it. One of them's Mario Kart 7, so one of the best Mario Kart games. And yeah, it runs fine. Again, this is triple resolution, 720p. You can see you can arrange the screens however you want. I've got the main screen being big and the second screen being small, as you can see on the bottom right hand side. I've just got it there. Blue shell. Oh, damn it, Luigi. I hit with this blue shell. It's not as bad as Mario Kart Wii though for blue shells. That was awful. I hated that game. That was one of the worst. But yeah, Mario Kart 7 was pretty good on the 3DS. I remember getting this game at launch. And this is one of my favorite Mario Kart games. But again, yeah, it runs even better. So the Steam Deck, think of it as a greatest hits handheld console. Of course, it can run all the 2D systems, the Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, etc. Sega Game Gear can run all of that. I think it can do Atari Lynx as well, though it's not on this system. But yeah, I can do all of them. I don't know if I can do PS Vita. I wonder if I can do PS Vita emulation. Do that, another blue shell of death. Just, you know, I wonder if the raccoon tail. I wonder if that. Yeah, we did whack something away there. I wonder if that'll do that. I mean, again, we're getting the ink splat on the face there. But anyway, yeah, 3DS is okay. There's only 2 games on it, and one of the 2. I think it was Super Mario Brothers, or was it Super Mario Brothers? But anyway, Luigi's enjoying himself, power sliding. So let's go check out some of the arcade stuff then. Okay, so this is Final Burn Alpha, and we're running the Punisher, which was a beat 'em up from Capcom. So it doesn't have like CPS1, CPS2 emulator. It doesn't have MAME either, but it does have FBA, and it did have a couple of Sega Model 2 and one Sega Model 3 game. But this is Final Burn Alpha, which is alright. You know, it's a decent. It has a few Capcom games and quite a few other ROM set. The ROM set is okay. It doesn't have the main ROM set, so you can't get like the Simpsons arcade nor Turtles in Time. But you know, so that would have been nice to have had them in there. But we can play as the Punisher, and we can shoot fools if we want with this pistol. Oh, I've got a grenade. I'll lob this hand grenade at someone. I got stuck there. I was trying to pick up the tire. But yeah, the Punisher is an interesting beat 'em up game. That dude just popped out with a Tommy gun for no reason. I'm gonna break a telephone box. A phone box, that is. For those of you who don't know what that is. I say that because a lot of kids these days don't really know what a phone box is. They never grew up in that era. It was a very, you know, this was a 90s game. Can you hit the cat? I don't want to hit the cat. He's not punishing felines as the Punisher. He's just punishing everyone else. We got this karate dude. Karate is no match for our baseball bat. But yeah, these games run pretty well. We'll check out something a bit more high-end. We're going to check out Atomiswave now. Okay, so this is Dolphin Blue running on the Atomiswave. And sometimes these games can be a bit difficult to run. But yeah, the Steam Deck has no real issues running this. Because it's kind of like post-2000 games. This was released in 2003 in the arcade. So it can be a little bit tricky to run for some lower end systems, but as you can see, the deck has no real issue running this game at all. There's no real problems with it. So the question is, should you use this over, you know, it turned up and gave me a Gatling gun. We're fighting the Greens. It's the Blues versus the Greens. So it reminds me of Glasgow at the weekends. Whenever there's an old firm game, it's kind of like that. You know, that's the best way to describe Dolphin Blue. We also get to ride a dolphin, which is pretty good. So, you know, that's interesting. That's pretty interesting arcade shooter. You know, I feel like Metal Slug on the Neo Geo. Think of it as a bit like that. It was pretty cool there. We died again, but we've got unlimited credits because we're not paying money for it. So should you get this over Emu Deck, which is probably the best option on SteamOS? If you want your operating system, if you want everything separated, then yeah, it might be worth doing. But I would say again, it is up to you what you want to do. Some people like it separated. Bear in mind, if you're doing the SD card for Batocera, you can't have anything else on it because you're gonna have to flash the Batocera image. And again, you can buy these off of AliExpress. They're about, you know, about £30, £40 in the UK, maybe $40 in the US as well. And it'll all come pre-configured for you. So the thing with Emu Deck is they won't provide you with anything that isn't legal. So BIOSes and ROMs, they will not provide you with anything that everything is nice and legal. They'll only provide you with the emulators and things like the bezels and things that aren't copyrighted, basically. You do have to set up the ROMs yourself, and you do have to set up the BIOSes, and you have to do some configuration yourself. It is quite easy to use Emu Deck these days. It is a pretty good system, but it is up to you whether you want everything pre-configured or not. I mean, again, if you're going to download an image yourself, it is very time consuming. This was a 216 gigabyte download. It took 8 hours to download. It then took 2 hours to extract, 2.5 hours to extract, and 3.5 hours to flash the image to the micro SD card. So just bear in mind, you need about a day to do that. Or you can just buy one off of AliExpress and wait a few weeks until it arrives from China. But anyway, I would recommend having a go at it. It's pretty easy. Again, it's easy to boot into this operating system. If you want your Steam Deck internal hard drive and your Steam Deck's SD card to be for games, and you don't want the UI messed up by introducing the ROMs and the emulators, then, you know, you can have this separate. It's a separate operating system. It won't impact your Steam Deck in any way. It's just booting from the SD card. But anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me, and see you again soon, and goodbye.